have set up coming up on November the 18th till the 20 something. So it's going to affect us in week 12. I'm going to confirm that with you later on. That just means I won't be here that Wednesday. So everything else is back to normal. And if we do miss a Monday class, I'll pre-record the lesson. So that'll be taken care of. This is why we're doing another exercise today in the classroom, just to make sure we don't fall behind and everyone is have enough knowledge to proceed with the assignments. Okay, so let's start the lesson, and I'm going to share my screen now. All right, so we did enter the Photoshop segments of the module. Um, Another one of my favorite programs besides Illustrator is Photoshop. I can honestly say like those are my two favorite programs. Other ones I use, of course. But if you look at the Photoshop module, the way I have it set up for you guys now, it's set up the same way as the Illustrator module was, except there's more procedural step-by-step exercises. These I've collected over the past few years, and I found them really, really helpful to my students, especially when I teach the graphic design program. I use the same material. It's a little more expanded on the print side, whereas us here, it's more on the website. The learning modules are very similar. However, I do have it organized slightly differently. You do have the assignments listed here now. So if you're looking for assignments, again, you can do the calendar search too, right? What's coming up. But this is the assignment here. It's called a Facebook ad assignment. I'm going to rename that one. I'm going to call it a social media ad assignment. So instead of just Facebook. So basically, you can pick any social media platform, okay? Now, social media is a very popular list of topics, of course, as you know. And you're going to be creating an ad because it's web-based, whether it's video, images. We're not going to get into video just yet. It's going to be like an image still ad. Now, you are going to do a video ad in the end of the semester. I'll teach you how to do animation. So you could do the nice animations that you see, whether it's Instagram, TikTok, the Photoshop stuff, the fun stuff. We'll get to do some of that as well, okay? And there's a really nice way Photoshop can demonstrate, or I should say, execute the timeline sequence into an animation. But before we get there, we have to learn how to create still advertisements, okay? Which is still very impactful. So for this assignment, you'll be designing a social media ad that will be featured on Facebook and Instagram. Okay, that's the main two platforms, I guess, for this one. A lot of businesses take on these channels to boost their brand or product awareness. You don't have to be an expert to start advertising on Facebook. More than 2 billion people use Facebook every month, probably more now. So no matter what kind of audience you want to reach, you'll find them there. You will choose your own clients, fictional or real, and create an ad using the tools in Adobe Photoshop with the proper size requirements. And good luck and have fun. So basically, you're going to choose an objective, select your audience, okay? Quick rationale. Tell me basically what your ad is going to be composed of and what's it for, okay? So let's say you're doing an ad for Sony or you're doing an ad for Tim Hortons. Just tell me what exactly you're trying to do. Maybe you're raising money for some kind of a fund organization for Tim Hortons. Maybe you're raising awareness for something new that's coming up with product technology or something like that, right? So whatever it is, write about it so I'm aware. And then you're going to pick a design format that's given for you. It's Photoshop. You don't have to. I know there's Canva and these other programs. Those are template programs. They're not really creative. And guess what? Everyone's using them. So your ad's going to look like everyone else's ad. Right? Think about that, right? So when using Photoshop, it's original. Nobody can duplicate or replicate what you do. Okay, so that's why it makes it really authentic, and it pops up a little more, has better reviews, and I don't have to sell it to you, but it is a more professional approach, of course. The JPEG format is what you're going to be outputting for the internet, social media, your phone. That's all you take pictures. JPEGs. That's the most recognizable image format. PNG is another one, but JPEG is what we're going to be targeting. 1080 by 1080 pixels is what today's standard is roughly for the Instagram world. Photoshop can also accept that. And the 72 dots per inch RGB mode is how you execute the output. This is important. A lot of times they get these graphic designer people coming to me saying, my printer won't accept my file. It's not the right specs. whether you're doing print, social media, even LinkedIn. I mean, if it's not the right size, it'll tell you you can't upload this. It doesn't meet the criteria. So you have to make sure you have to know how to optimize and output these files. Doesn't matter how creative your work is, it's not going to be effective if you can't upload it. So you have to make sure you meet the specs, and that's something we're going to cover as well. These are the expectations, a minimum of 5 layers, including typography. Various selection methods demonstrated. Layer blends and layer styles are optional. However, I do want to see some of that stuff. PSD, which stands for Photoshop Document Format, along with the JPEG for final submission. I want to see your work, and I want to see you know how to execute and export your file into a media format. That would be the JPEG. Your work would be PSD. So 2 files, just like Illustrator and Illustrator SVG. Remember how we made those logos? Right? You gave me an Illustrator file and you gave me an SVG file or a PDF file or something else that went along those lines. Submission with Blackboard, unless the file exceeds 100 megs. I'm not worried about that. It won't, but just use Blackboard. I'm sure it'll accept even more than 100 megs now. And the breakdown is always the same criteria, technical and creative. Those are the main 3 things we do in most creative rubrics in most classes. This is an example of a Lego ad. Okay. So this was all kind of done in Lego was the company we chose. It was a kids type of ad. And their thing was the astronaut training session they did at the Lego Discovery Center. And they did a little ad like that. And we use that as an example. Again, this is just something to show you as a very simple example. There's other ones, but this was something this is what they'll look like when it's uploaded on the social media. And you can, of course, once you make for one social media, you can transfer to the other ones, right? Whether it's Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, right? TikTok's different. It's more video based, so you're not going to go there for this. But those other 3 for sure. All righty. So this is due in 2 weeks, which is November the 15th. Okay, so that's gives you ample amount of time to get this started. Today's going to be a good overall class to how to strengthen your selection method skills. This is why I'm doing the class on a Wednesday. I know it's a lab usually, but I want to really give you guys a lot of ammunition to go forward. And then after that, we can relax and do some work. Well, like I said, when I go on my trip and you guys can have more works time for yourselves. All right, so let's get started, okay? So I'm gonna go right into the Photoshop application. I did ask all of you if you have the program. Everybody obviously answered yes. I still have 2024 hanging around, so you gotta make sure you open up 2025. It doesn't really matter. They're both very similar. The updated was, I think they did some stuff with the content aware scale AI method, which again is like a beta, and the screen banner changed. They have the new screen Adobe application splash banner. I was really impressed by your splash banners, by the way, the Illustrator ones. You guys did really well on that one, okay? Considering you guys didn't know how to use Illustrator, now you're creating banners and drawing stuff. Pretty good accomplishments. So I was really, really, really happy to see your progress so far. So congratulations on that. I'm not going to get you to do a Photoshop application banner, okay? That's not one on the agenda here. But if you want to make one for fun, by all means, right? You can enter the contest. They have contests every year for this stuff. They pick students for these things. All right, so where I left off with the class, here's what we did last Monday. We did here, I'll open it here. We did this swirl thing. Right? We ended up with this swirl design. We did this all from scratch. We didn't even use any images. We didn't use the internet. We were just kind of we zoned right into Photoshop. We used selections and colors. We learned the basics, how to add, subtract selections, how to apply fills, different colors, right? Go through the swatches, the color modes. And then we did a little bit of color changes with the paint bucket selection tools again, the very core basics of Photoshop. And then we started exploring with filters a little bit. With the filter, I was able to simulate the swirl design of the colors, kind of creating a nice abstract type of creative look. And then we did the plastic filter, because most teachers, while the students with filters in Photoshop when they do their first class, I didn't want to break that barrier, but I thought I had to do a little bit just to have a little more fun. So it's not just too boring, right? And then made it more interesting with the swirl, I think. Otherwise, it looked a little too boring with the colors only. So we did that all from scratch. Watch the Monday video, which is posted right now online. You guys can watch that video. And I do all encourage you to do this because if you noticed, I put a discussion group up on the channel. I should say Blackboard. If you guys go to discussions, okay, there's a digital NFT abstract design exercise challenge. So I encourage everybody to upload their work. Oh, look, there's Abdullah Raz. Very nice. Nicely done. You're the only one, man. All right. So I expect all of you guys to chime in and do your own swirl color abstract design and put it up there. Okay. This is not going to be marked, by the way, but it shows your participation and, have some fun and get a more community thing going with our class. So please feel free to do this. I'll do this from time to time just to kind of get us engaged in different activities. So please upload your stuff here. All you have to do is hit reply and upload your swirl design. So do it this week, okay? Whenever you have a chance. All right. So then let's go back to the content. So what I want you to do for today's lesson is download the exercise files from Monday, which is the Class 8 Introduction to Photoshop. These are your lesson files. This will carry us through for the whole week. And even next week, we should wrap this up because next week we'll get into the Facebook advert as well. And from that one, we're going to going to delete this file here. It's not supposed to be linked. That's the old class. We're going to do an image reconstruction class. Next week will be focused on the actual Facebook ad or Instagram ad. Okay, so that's what we're going to be doing. And we're going to complete the lesson file if there's some files pending. So that's why these 2 weeks are crucial to get, things up and running in the right direction. Okay, so that's why I really want to get a full head start with Photoshop. And then we just kind of coast right through the end, learning other fun things as well. All right, so download this file called Lesson Files. If you can download that right now, that'll be great. If you're here right now with me today, just download the files. Do this with me right now, okay? Whatever I'm doing right now, follow me live, please. Because you can watch the video later and refer to it. But this is how you're really going to learn when I'm here with you present, and I can help you guys if you get stuck with anything, right? So when you download this file, you'll get some nice additional folders that are going to be present. And I got deleted it by accident. So lesson files, you click on it. You click on the selections.zip. You just download that file right there on your computer somewhere. I'll go to my desktop folder. Once it's downloaded, you can extract it. And I want you to open up the very first folder. It's called Lesson 1, Selecting Start. The reason why I like these handouts, I've used them for the past few years, is because it has instructions, step-by-step instructions on what we're doing. If you like to read and follow handouts, this is the one. I used to print these and give them to my students. I don't think that's necessary anymore. You can just read the PDF. So you can just follow my steps here. And this will basically show you, this exercise alone will do all these things. It'll teach you how to select parts of an image using a variety of tools. It'll teach you how to reposition selection marquee. It'll teach you how to deselect selections, move and duplicate selections, constrain the movement of a selection, choose an area of an image based on proximity of color and pixels, adjust a selection with arrow keys, add or subtract from selections, rotate, scale, transform selections, combine selection tools, cropping images. This will teach you all these wonderful things in Photoshop. That's why I love this exercise. It's also very fun because you get to build something from scratch, okay? It's pretty lengthy. It's got like 3 pages, but I'm not gonna read from that. I'll leave that up to you. I'm just gonna do the actual demonstration on how it's done. And this is basically what we're starting with. Our job is to put this together. We used to do the Mr. Potato Head back in the day. But that'll waste a lot of time. We go online, get a picture of a potato, and we get the eyes, the ears, the nose, and assemble it together and have some fun. You guys know Mr. Potato Head? Remember that? I didn't grow up with Mr. Potato either, but here it's a big thing. So you put a potato back together. So this is like Mr. Vegetable Head, okay? Or Mrs. Vegetable Head. You can basically dress this up and put it together like that. So everything's kind of given to you. We just have to work with this image as is. Now look at this. It points different things. Elliptical marquee tool, lasso tool, elliptical marquee with shift, another elliptical marquee, magnetic lasso, magic wand, quick mask, rectangular marquee. So all these tools are going to be concentrated on those elements and used, okay? This is the subject. The melon is what we're going to be dressing up. And I'll teach you, like this exercise is a few years old. So there's newer tools now that I'm going to introduce with this exercise. So you're going to learn the new stuff as well, not just the old stuff that's there. So let's get started. Simply double click. This is a Photoshop file. It's called selecting start. When we finish, it's going to be called select finish. So double click and open the file, please. And I'll make this nice and large so you can see the whole screen. And please make sure your screen is set up like this, which means under a window, under workspace, it's under essentials default. Very important because then you'll have a very more customized, user-friendly interface to work with, which means you have your swatches, you have the properties here, but I want you to make sure the layer is quite visible. The layers, today we're going to be using layers too. So selections and layers, although we're focusing mainly on selections, we can't do this without layers. So layers and selections is where the Photoshop essential keys are, okay? So without layers and selections, you can't really use Photoshop in a creative level that we're going to do it right now. Okay, so let me make sure everyone's up and ready here. We got the file open. Everyone's good? Who's following me here right now? Who's doing this with me? Okay, good, very good. If you need more time to get this going, let me know. So we're gonna zoom in. Command plus, command minus, right? This one says, and the space bar always gives us the hand tool. You can zoom in. Elliptical marquee tool. Okay, this is the most, just a review from Monday's class. We're going to use very similar methods. The only difference is we're using images this time. We're not just using colors and filters and stuff. So for this one, we're going to use the elliptical marquee tool. And I'm going to start right over here, see the top left corner. But look, it says option start at center. That means if I hold option or alt, it's sort of doing this, right? From the left to the right. I can start from the center if I hold alt or option. You can go from the center and basically get a selection that looks like this. So try that. Hold option and start from the center, and you'll see a selection that I made like that. A marquee selection. Option, drag the mouse. And then when the selection's there, right? Oh, Mike. Yeah, I'm going to repeat this again. You have to be in the elliptical marquee, the one over here. Okay, it's got the little square, but you got to hold the mouse and select the circle. It's called a circle elliptical marquee. That was in the way again. Okay. Hold option. Grab it. You get it. There you go. It's okay. It's not like you didn't do the setting after position properly. Okay, so doesn't have to be perfect as long as it kind of situates exactly on the target. We're good. Now, think logically what we want to do. This is all in the background layer. What we want to do is we want to extract these pixels and paste them on a separate layer so we can move it. So it's like copy and paste. So we're going to copy and paste this to a separate layer. How do you do that? Copy and paste. Control C, Control V. Or there's another one on the handout I'm going to give you. It's on there, PDF. Command J. Command J is the same as copy paste. It's one-time shortcut. Command J, or just copy and paste. Okay? Just so you don't confuse the two. So you can do either one. Just do it once, don't do it twice, because it's gonna give you two layers. So let's do copy and paste first. And look at that. It became a separate layer now. Layer one is the orange that we extracted from the elliptical selection. So the next thing you want to do, you want to rename this layer. How do you rename? You double click on layer one. Instead of layer one, double click and call it orange eye. Orange eye. And then you're going to go to the move tool. Now, this is the thing you have to, just like Illustrator, we switch tools. Once you make a selection, you extract it, you're going to go to this move tool. This is your main tool. Like remember the black arrow tool in Illustrator? Photoshop is called the move tool. It's a 4-directional looking arrow. And that one, you can move the orange right on top of the melon head like this. Okay? Just move it over. Because you copied and pasted it, right? What do you go with? You want to double click here. Get more space, right? Double click on that zone too. Perfect. So now you see what's happening, right? You extracted that and you move this here. We're going to assemble our little funny thing. But be very careful, because if you rush it for your first time doing this, you might make a mistake. You have to be consciously aware of the steps that we're trying to, you know, kind of remember here, right? You want to resize it? Maybe you do. Use if you already have an auto transform box, you guys have this, do you have this show controls thing already set up? If you do, you can resize it smaller and bigger, holding shift, or don't have to hold shift to constrain the proportions, and press enter. And then you can just move it there. Now do me a favor, shut this thing off, because I think it gets in the way sometimes. Turn off the show controls. It's up here, show controls. To transform something, I'd much rather you be in control, hitting Control T, which is free transform. It's under edit. Watch this. Free transform is Control or Command T. This one lets you do the same thing. Look, you can also do rotate. If you go to the outside corner, you can rotate. If you go to the corner, you can just resize. Very similar to the object-oriented methods in Illustrator, right? Now I want you to still be in the move tool, like the 4-directional tool there called the move tool. I want you to stay in that one. Because you know what I'll do next is you're going to hold Alt. You're going to hold the Alt key. And watch this, everybody. Option, drag, just like Illustrator, to duplicate a layer. Look at the layer now. It's called copy. So you duplicated a layer or an object in Photoshop. Very important, because now you can know how to duplicate stuff. A lot easier that way. So I can move this one. I can move that one. Look, it's pretty object oriented. You can click here, but you have to go click and then click and drag. Click and then click and drag. You can't just go click and drag. It doesn't let you. You have to go click first and then click and drag. Because Photoshop has to understand what you're doing. Select means click and then click and drag. So you have to appoint the layer, because it's, look, auto select layer. This is why it works like an object program like Illustrator. Otherwise, this wasn't around before. You have to literally go to the layer, select it from there, and then move it. Now you can just go click, click and drag, click, click and drag, click, click and drag. Okay, next thing. Now think consciously here. We want to grab additional images from the background layer. So that means consciously, you always have to remember, you got to go to the background layer to grab the other things. You can't grab them otherwise. Like I can't go let's say I want to grab this blueberry, right? I can't select this blueberry using, let's do a marquee again, the circle marquee again. We're going to draw a circle this time like this, right? I can't copy this, okay? It'll say, there's nothing there, right? There's nothing there. It's empty because that layer doesn't have the blueberry. This layer has everything. So you have to be consciously aware to always be that layer when you copy stuff. You understand? Copy and paste. So therefore, we're going to go to the background layer, make sure you're there, and then you do Command J or copy and paste, which I'll just do Command J from now on. Command J, and this will be called the pupil. Pupil, the blueberry pupil. And I'm going to zoom out, Command minus. I'm going to go to that 4-directional move tool and move it all the way. Oh, it's not going on top. Why is that? Why is this not going on top? Because the layer orientation has to be on top of the orange peel, right? So you have to literally drag it on top of the order for that to be apparent, okay? So we just have to go and drag it right to the top, and then you can simply move it there. So once you master this basic principle, you can do the whole exercise on your own. But I got to do it with you because there's all these little tricks and selections I got to show you, right? But this is basically what we're doing. Copy, paste, resize, move, using a variety of selection methods that we're going to learn and inherit. So basically, option drag again to duplicate that over. Option drag. So there's your eyes now, right? Now look at the layers you have, like 5 layers, including the background. Every time we do this, we go back to the background layer to grab the additional things that we need. So you have to go back and do some more copying and pasting. Okay? You remember this game? It's bring back memories from back in the day. Bring back. Good as you love it. What an accident. All the care. Double click again. Just have this. Double click again. Just double click here. You can do it. Double click. Again. There. Give more space. Leave that right. You can delete these other TT layers. Just click and delete. Don't do it after this video. Just do it like that. Just hit delete. So now you're in the selection mode. Just exit that. Just hit delete. Okay. So just hit delete. There. Okay. So it's the options. Okay. Lilies. Think of it visible. Yeah. Well, that's it. Release. I would just put it there's. You would click on the type tool maybe. Okay. Oh, good idea. Very good. See, you're a smart name.
Yeah.
You have a selection name, okay? So no selection. Now, yeah, one is selection. Yeah. Now we're here, here. Now we're gonna grab the next one here. And go to this one. Make us. I'll make this blue. Oh, it's better. Make a selection, copy, paste. That's enough. You're okay with this, right? Okay, I'll record this. Okay. Oh. Yeah. Yeah, you have to start off, right?
No.
There's the sale, Sable down here, a pilot and everything.
Because everyone has a basic, that's what we.
$50 gonna make everything back up, okay?
Yeah.
We will get a chance to do this,
Yeah.
right? Perfect. Okay, so I'm recording this anyways for those of you that are a little caught up with some other stuff. So, basically, what I'm gonna do is repeat the same things. Look, I'm gonna go to the background layer. That's our source, the background layer. The next thing we're gonna learn is how to create a lasso. The lasso is the most infamous selection method of Photoshop because this is how it works. There's three. There's a new one now. Now there's a selection lasso. We'll cover this another time because it's more advanced with other things. But there's lasso, polygonal lasso, magnetic lasso. So the lasso, these two work together because what the lasso does is this. Look at this, one coffee, right? You're watching? Watch this. One coffee, one mouse. Basically, you're freehand tracing this like that. Look at this. Just freehand tracing it. And if I didn't have a mouse, I wouldn't do this. Now, look, I'm messing up now. So what do? I click away, I start again. But here's how you can control it. If you hold Option intermittently while you're doing it, you get to give it a pause. Because Option switches to this one, the polygonal one. But you don't want to always be in this one because this one gives you, look, you click, click. It's like connecting the dots. It's like an elastic type of polygon method. So what you do is when you connect it, there's a selection. So let's get the best of both worlds, which would be using this one in conjunction with the other one. How does that work? Let me just deselect. Watch this very carefully. This one takes some practicing, so please be patient. This is intermediate. It's not beginner. So what you do is you do this. Watch. You select. Now look at my other hand now. I'm going to hold Option right there. I'm going to hold Option. I'm going to rest the mouse. Right? I'm going to hold the Option the whole time. I'm going to go click, click. Well, this I can go hold the mouse. When I hold the mouse down with Option, I'm free forming it. As soon as I let go of the mouse, it's elastic mode. I can then go click, click, right? So this is like ultimate control. Look at this. I'm going to go over here. Now I'm going to let go of the mouse now. I'm holding Option the whole time, the control key. Now watch what I'll do here. Watch this. Click and click and click and click. Very cleverly, I'm going to grab the whole piece like this. And I'm going to go right there. I'm holding the mouse now. I'm going to give my hand a rest. I'm holding Option the whole time. And those of you that are watching me live, this is how I'm doing it. I'm going to go all the way up here and click over here again. Doesn't have to be perfect, but do your best. Here we go again. Click, click. I'm holding Option the whole time. I'm going to go right to where I started. Now watch this. When I go look where I started, right here. As soon as I connect the dots, it becomes a selection. And you let go of Option and you let go of key. So don't worry if you have a little pixels left over or extra. That's okay. We're just doing this for practice purposes. But do your best. And then that's how you can utilize the most powerful, simple, intermediate technique in Photoshop. Lasso and polygon lasso. You can get almost any object just like that. And then I'll show you some other correction methods along the way, like quick masking and stuff we'll get into. But for now, learn this, and then you'll see how much this will help you with utilizing selection tools. Again, I'm in the background layer. I selected the bow tie using the lasso. I'm going to hit Command J or copy and paste right now. And this will become the bow tie. I'm going to go to the move tool and move the bow tie. Well, wrong. Whenever you get stuck with this kind of nonsense, like the selections and stuff, just click away to deselect. Because remember, deselecting a selection is just as important as selecting a selection, because otherwise it'll prevent you to do other things. Like here, we got stuck deleting a type layer because I couldn't see the screen that well. she had a selection on, so we couldn't delete it. So make sure there's no selection. So no selection, go to the move tool and move this right where it's supposed to be, right there, okay? The pasta bow tie. And then we go back to the background layer and we do the next one, okay? So try that out and then we'll do the next one together. The next one's the magnetic lasso. This one is the same, except it's a magnet. But for this one, I always make a joke. Keep your keys and change out of your pockets. It's a strong magnet because what it does, it picks up the pixels of the contrast. So basically, watch this. You see this white and this red or orange or yellow? What happens is when you click here, no fancy stuff here, just one click. Watch this. I start here, I click, and I follow the mouse. It knows to trace the edges, right? This is the magnetic one. Goes like this, click. You can click periodically, right? To kind of keep it in line. But this one is kind of nice because it does trace the edges. It defines the differential of the pixels. It knows the white, it knows the yellow, it knows the red. So when you kind of go like this, it picks up the pixels. You click where you started, there's a selection. That one looks easier, but the other ones is just as important because you're not always going to get the white background. Sometimes you're going to get tricky areas to go in there and manually, you as a user, defining the selection. When you have a white background, there's a lot of easy ways to do this. Magic wand, quick selection. There's an easier one, believe it or not. There's an easier one right now. I'm going to show you after this. It gets easier, believe it or not. I'm doing the hard stuff first, right? So for this one, same thing, copy, paste, move it over here, right? This will be the ear. So look what I'll do. Command or Control T. I'm going to grab the corners, resize, rotate, and put it right over here. And then Option drag to duplicate, Command T, and rotate it the other way and do it over here. I'll give you some time to do this one because I know I rushed both at the same time. So practice the lasso and the polygon lasso, practice the magnetic lasso, because they're equally important to master. In addition with the other tools, you're going to learn how to do this. So these are the fundamental tools you're learning right now. We didn't cover this Monday. Monday, we just did the rectangle and the elliptical. Now we're doing lasso. We're going to do magic wand. We're going to do the quick selection tool. All the tools that I covered with this exercise. Oh, yeah, so this one's straight. You just press escape. Yeah, that was a weird one. Yeah, I'm pressing escape and then it goes exercise. Yeah. Okay. Huh? Oh, yeah, so remember escaping. Actually, it's in the forward. Awesome. Let's get another one. We'll just double click. And then, but escape should work okay. Is your keyboard working? Yes. Okay. Yeah, so just do the double click one, okay? We're gonna figure out why escape it. How do you know? Okay. Get out our staples, sailor, get out the terrible. Staples are down the street, right? 127. Or that's by us. So maybe it's the next actions. I didn't force okay, you can watch it or just false. Okay. All right, very nice. Now I'm gonna have to. I'm not gonna keep using the same elliptical tool. This one I'm gonna switch it up. I'm gonna show you something different this time for the tomato. It's not fair for me to show you all these, I guess, old school methods that are still essential, right? But these are more modern ways now. Guess what? They made this program easier, right? So they made it easier by implementing. So we covered the elliptical marquee tools. We covered the lasso tools. What we haven't covered is these other one. Well, this is called, you ready for this one? Object selection tool. Okay. This one here, believe me, it came out like a few years ago. And I was like, what the heck is this tool all about? This is the most intelligent tool they have in Photoshop in terms of AI built in. This tool here, it works well with clean backgrounds. When I say clean background, you know what I'm talking about? White background with an image. That's called a clean background, or any color. It could be black, could be blue, green screen. As long as there's a contrast between the background and the image, this one works really well. So watch this, everybody. I'm in this thing called the object selection tool. Look at this. I'm going to move my mouse right on. Oh, wrong layer. Background layer, first and foremost. I'm going to hover on the tomato, not even in a millisecond. Look, watch this again. Look, it knows what it wants to do. All I have to do is accept it and go click, and it makes it a selection. Right? So in that case, you just do copy and paste. I just went over the tomato and it knew the AI built into the Photoshop to select it. So this is new. Like, I wish I had this like 20 years ago. That would have been nice. But anyways, doesn't matter. You move it away. Look, it's a selection. I'm in the right layer. You have to be in the right layer, otherwise it won't work. Command J, copy, paste, go to the move tool, move it over. And we're going to call this one mouth. Mouth, and these are the ears. I got to keep naming these layers so I know. Ear, copy. The mouth is going to be over here. Command or Control T. I'm going to switch it a bit so it looks like an actual mouth. Like that. Press Enter. Right? A lot of layers we have now to deal with. It's good because you're getting acquainted with using multiple layers, multiple selections. But the most important thing is using the resource, the background layer, as your source to extract things from. Okay? I told you it gets easier. Now watch this next easy one. You do that one first if I'm going too fast. This mushroom, you can use this next one. This one came out before this one. It's called the quick selection tool. This is one of my other favorite ones. This one here. Look how this one works. You simply go and click. Let me zoom in. You see the mushroom? The trick is this. Don't click too far out. Don't click too far in. You gotta, as a human, differentiate the mid-tone. What's the mid-tone? Where like this is too light, this is too dark. The mid-tone's right there. So when you click here, it's called a sweet spot. Then you just go click on the beside of it, and look, you got the whole thing. It knows the pixels that are related to it. Let me do it one more time. Watch this. I'm gonna go select, deselect. Deselect means deselect. I'm gonna click here in the mid-tone. Click once, or you can just click and drag the mouse, or click once and twice. I grabbed it. And guess what? The other tool, the intelligent one, works too. You could have used that one as well. I just want to show you different ways. This one's really nice because this one also does copy paste, called the hats. And I'll move it here. And this one, I'll squish it. I'll give it a little lean. Now you're wondering, well, how am I supposed to remember all this? Well, guess what? If you roll the mouse over the tool, it gives you a demonstration how it works. You can watch a tutorial too. So in case you want to get an additional explanation, just watch the tutorial. Look, let me just press play to see how good these tutorials are. Watch this.
Automatically finds and follows the edges within your image. This makes it ideal for selecting objects with well-defined boundaries. To adjust the size of the quick selection tool, you can use the brackets on your keyboard or adjust the size of the brush in the options bar. A larger brush size will allow you to make broader selections, while a smaller brush size will give you more precision. To use the quick selection tool, click and drag over the area you want to select. The tool will automatically follow the edges within the image. To add to the selection, hold the Shift key and click and drag over additional areas you want to include. To remove an area from the selection, hold Alt or Option and click and drag over the area you'd like to remove. Don't forget, you can easily access the quick selection tool by using the W key on your keyboard. This shortcut makes it even.
Exactly that. But watch, let me explain the other thing he was talking about. The size of the brush. This is important, right? All these tools have brush sizes. So this one this is the size. Now, if the caps lock is on, he didn't mention this, that's what I'm gonna tell you. If caps lock is on, you won't see what I'm talking about. You won't see a brush size. Make sure caps lock is off. You guys don't have your caps lock on, do you? Who's got a caps lock on? You're not yelling at people this morning, right? So turn off your caps lock, then you see the brush size. With the square keys, those curly brace brackets that you guys use in JavaScript, those ones beside the letter P, that makes it look smaller and bigger. You can control the brush size. This does affect your selection. So when you use that and you go on top of the mushroom and you go click and drag, it'll make a selection like that, okay? If you hold Option, Option takes away, and you don't have to hold Shift because it's automatically, Shift is pressed already. So just click and drag the mouse to do that. And then copy paste. Okay. And then that becomes the hats. Yes, it does. The hats. This one says rectangular and magic wand. I mean, it's an old school trick that works like this. Watch this, everybody. I use a rectangular selection. I'm on the background layer. And the magic wand, basically, the magic wand used to be like the #1 tool. Now it's buried like #3. But this one, what it does, if you hold Option, it'll just contract the white to the pixels that are kind of floating around, which is this fruit right here, a vegetable. It's radish, I think. So if you Option click, look, it selects the radish. You see? Selects it. I'm just pressing Q for quick mask mode. And don't worry about that. I'll show you that another time. So what I want you to do is use that method or use the intelligent object selection tool if you like, because that one, you just have to do this. You make a circle. Watch this. You make a circle, you stop, and the circle will contract to the target. Here's another method. Watch this. You hover, this is like the most, this is like your AI tool. Call it the AI selection tool in Photoshop, because it does make things easier. For me to not to show it to you would be, not cool, right? So I'm going to show it to you anyways. And the other methods are good too, because this one is easy when it's white backgrounds, okay? But if you have more complex selections, you have to use the other methods. So the more methods you know, the better you are in Photoshop, okay? But this one can get away with a lot of stuff. So use this one. Watch this. You hover on top, you click, there's your selection, okay? So it's just that easy. And then you do copy and paste. Command J, which is copy and paste. Go to the move tool, move it up here, and this becomes the eyebrow, perhaps. I'll do a Command T, do a little angulation, enter. Now let me show you one more thing. If you Option drag something, I want to flip it. I want to flip it the opposite way, right? How do I do that? You go under Edit, Transform, Flip Horizontal, Flip Vertical is down here. So in this case, I want to flip it horizontal. So I'm going to go horizontal flip, and then I'll move it down to the other side, right? So by learning these selection methods and utilizing one document, we're able to construct something from nothing, basically, by utilizing this layer and assembling other layers and putting something together. This is the skill that if you master, you learn Photoshop as a creative designer. You're no longer a basic user. You're like an intermediate advanced user, because you can do this kind of stuff. That's why I'm giving it to you like right now, because I want you to have that skill, and it's not hard. Once you learn this, if you guys use Illustrator, you can easily do this in Photoshop. Okay, it's just understanding how the method works. I'll save the best for last. The magic wand. This is This was the tool 15 years ago, or even 20 years ago. This was like the #1 tool. Right now, it's not no longer the #1 tool, but it's still a good tool. So let's zoom in here and show you how the magic wand works. So, yeah. Yeah, because it's already selected, right? We sort of saw this shit. That's it, not even. Because that prevented us from doing this, right? It's also some. All in place, yeah, that's fine. Yeah, you know what? Look at the selection there, the rectangular one keep. Yeah. You stop this. You just select all that stuff. In the circle, because that is. Keep on bigger, bigger. You do another one, the bigger, you capture, hit delete. That's it. That's a multiple. Because it was selecting that resident, all the resident, it was left over. Selected. But that happens to me too, you just copy it. There. Option, right? Next side. So what you do with option? You know what, you can do that with the tracker, that's pretty skilled. I can't do it with the tracker, that's all. Just flip it, and edit, transform, the photo. Okay, and then go back to the backwards layer. Like I said, I think the best for last, the pepper here. Right, so this one. You gotta zoom in. I want you to understand how the magic tool works, because with this, that's why I like this exercise. It covers all the essential selection methods in the software. So I'm teaching you everything in one lesson, right? And then of course, these tools will be, you know, we're gonna use them in different ways and stuff. We're not just gonna stop here, but these tools are the fundamental tools. Once you learn these tools, you can use them for many things. So it's easier for you to understand how this works. So the magic wand is another important tool, because that one selects color shades. So if I go select this green, right? I'm gonna zoom right in there, because at the end of the day, look, you're just selecting a bunch of pixels. That's all it is just a bunch of dots or squares. So what this tool does is selects that range of color based on this proximity. Tolerance is 20. You probably have it at 32, because that's the default, 32. So by the default 32 might be okay. You click in the green here. Look what happens. Oh, wrong layer, background layer. If I click on this green, it selects that green. You click on the light green, it selects the light green. So it selects different shades of that color. Now, here's the trick. If you hold shift and you click on the next green, the one that's kind of different away from it, it selects that too. And then this one and that one, and I missed this one here, and keep clicking shift. You might do this maybe 10 or 20 times, but it's worth understanding and learning this method, because it is, you know, the more traditional approach to doing this. And it's still useful, because there'll come a time where you have to select colors and stuff. So you just learn this now, it's better. Look, I'm going to hold shift. I'm going to hold the space bar. The space bar navigates my screen. Shift adds to the selection of pixels that I'm acquiring. I'm going to go all the way here, shift click. And basically, I did the whole thing with shift click with the magic wand. How do I know? I press Q. Q is my reference. Q, 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 Q. I'm going to teach you Q another lesson, because it's called quick mask mode. It's more advanced, and I don't want to overwhelm you in one day. Let's just learn the methods for now. Q comes next week, okay? We'll do Q, which is quick masking. That's perfecting the selections. For now, we're using the selections. Again, there's the pepper selected using magic wand. Background layer is selected. Command J, copy paste. Move this all the way here with the move tool. And there's the nose. I want the nose to be in front of the mouth or the eyes or whatever. So I'm going to call it nose and move it at the very top of the list. Okay. And what else didn't I name? These are the brows. Brow copy. So all in all, we ended up with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 12 to 13 layers. And using all these different selections. And the last thing I want to do now is this. I want to show you how to crop an image. Because let's say we're done assembling this. We want to now publish it. We want to publish it on social media. We want to publish this on whatever, a website, or you want to print this. You go to this crop tool. A lot of people use Photoshop just to do this sometimes. Crop tool, and you go like this. You basically make a selection or you recrop the document to make it look like this, right? And you press enter. And this crops the picture to what you want it to remain. But be careful, because now I want you to save it as something else. Don't oversave the existing file. Save it as a different name. So you have the comparison of before and after. So we're going to do file save as. Save as means you're saving it as something else. And we're going to call this, instead of start, we're going to call it finish, because we started what we finished. So we're going to call it finish.psd in the same folder as our existing folder. We're saving it as a Photoshop document, because that's what we're going to keep. Let's say we want to edit it tomorrow, change the ears, the eyes, and mess around with it. You always save the Photoshop document, because only Photoshop retains all the layer information. So you can always go back later and mess around with this. Because once you save it as a JPEG, you can't mess around with it. It's a flat picture. You get it? JPEGs are flat images. You can't edit a JPEG. It's just a picture. But Photoshop, you can, because you're editing it. It's an edit mode. It's like Illustrator versus PNG, right? Same analogy. So let's save this as a social media file that we can put on a website or a platform or something. So for that, we go to save a copy. Save a copy allows us to save these other deliverable formats for publishing online or on print. So when you do save a copy, you select, of course, not Photoshop. You can go with a JPEG or PNG even. Let's go with the JPEG. So JPEG, save, the quality will be maximum. Okay. So now what we did was we basically saved two files. This is what we started with. This is what we started with. This is what we ended up with. And this is what we're publishing. We're publishing the JPEG file. And how big is the JPEG file? Well, it's about 166K. It's not bad. Photoshop file, it's a lot bigger, of course. It's almost a megabyte, 900K, 992, right? And this is how we want to publish the JPEG file. And this, my friends, you can put it on whatever you want now, social media, TikTok, have some fun with it, whatever. You can basically create almost anything. By the time you finish this course, you're going to be a Photoshop wizard. Do some nice Photoshop stuff. You can make money alone using Photoshop skills, because people always need graphics done or ads or something for internet websites, social media. You don't have to hire anybody. You can do your own graphics, okay? In Illustrator, you do your own logos. In Photoshop, you do your own photo montages. And then you make some websites using, your code skills. Combined, you have a really, really special ability that most people don't have. All right, so I'm going to finish this recording. This is being recorded, so I'm going to stop the recording now, and we're going to carry on to the next class. Thanks for watching as always. We're going to wrap it up now. And if you have any questions, let me know. We're about to end the session. I'll see you next time. All right, bye for now, and have yourself a great week.